Good morning, and thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Jen Espinosa-Goswami. Welcome to my page here at Weightless. I'm a holistic health coach and motivational speaker, and I help people create their own personal path to bliss, whatever that looks like for them. Sometimes that involves health goals, sometimes it involves career goals, but as a coach, I can support you in either realm of your life. And today I'm super excited for my monthly guest expert. We're going a little bit different from what we usually talk about today. Today we're talking with Barbara Bustard. And she is an author, she is an artist, she's a creative, she does retreats. She's going to be talking to us about how to use art as a meditative practice. So we're changing it up a little bit here. Some of you may know me and know that I have a very artistic daughter. So art is very intriguing to me, and I've never explored using art as a meditative practice. So I'm very curious about this because some people don't really resonate with traditional meditation where you just sit and be still. So I think art is a good way to kind of bridge the gap for many people. Before we jump into Barbara's official introduction, hi, Jeanette. Thank you for joining us today. Before we jump into the official introduction, I do want to share a few administrative things for you. If you're joining us live, please say hi in the comments. Jeanette, it's so good to see you. I will say hi back, and I'll be monitoring the comments if any questions come up for you. If you want to share this with your community or people you feel would benefit from this, we very much appreciate your shares. If you're watching the replay, please comment with hashtag replay. And Barbara has gracefully offered to monitor the comments. So if you have a question that comes up during the course of the replay, she'll be happy to answer your questions that come up or to connect with you further. And the replay will be up through Saturday. So we're on Wednesday today. You've got a few days to catch that replay before it comes down from the page. So by all means, check out the replay, do the practice with us, and see where that takes you. I will be putting Barbara's links and ways to connect with her further in the comments. So if you are joining us, let us know. Where are you joining us from? Where in the world are you? We'd love to see where you are and who's joining us. All right. So I'm so excited to introduce Barbara Bustard. She is the author of a book called The Art of Healing, 12 step-by-step art exercises for improved physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. She also is the author of Haiku in Black and White, a collection of 100 haiku poems and black and white photography. So many ways that she's expressing her creativity. She's an artist, a teacher, and the founder of Art for Body, Mind, and Soul. She's also a contributing author to the Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing series. From an educational background, she holds a BA degree in religious studies and art from Notre, University of Maryland, and certificates in color therapy, art therapy for self-healing, and self-expression. Good morning, Barbara. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Jen. Thanks for having me. Glad
So,
to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited. And I know that one of my community members commented on your colorful glasses. They're so pretty.
Thank you. Yeah, I like color.
I can tell. Yeah, it's coming through.
That's also
Awesome.
one of my ways of being creative, expressing myself. There's all kinds of ways to be creative.
That is a good point. I think that's a great way to put it out because a lot of people that I connect with don't describe themselves as creatives, and to some extent they're intimidated to describe themselves as creatives. But this is a safe space for all, regardless of whether you identify as a creative or an artist or whatever. We're all welcome here. I also want to put, for those of you who are joining us in the chat, do have a pen and paper available because we will be able to walk through a short practice today. That's one of the fun things about today. We're hands-on and interactive. Well, Barbara, tell us a little bit more about, did you always want to be an author?
No, I don't think no, I didn't. Although I've always liked to write. And even as a child, I carried around a black composition book and I filled it with poetry that I wrote. And I have always liked to write about life and experiences, not like fiction. I don't like do imaginary stories and things like that. I'd write from a spiritual perspective or a inner knowledge that, things like that. But I did the way the book came about I actually started about 15 years ago writing a book, and it was because I wanted to put out there the connection, the spiritual connection between, well, the connection with art and creativity and spirit, and especially with clay. At the time, I was a potter, a ceramic artist, and and there was such a spiritual connection in working with the clay that I just had these all these things that connected it, and I wanted to put out a book of clay projects with, like, similar to what I ended up doing with meditation or poetry or whatever. And it got waylaid with, things. So I was given the opportunity. The pandemic, actually, at the very beginning of the pandemic, I was contacted by Laura DeFranco to see if I would contribute a chapter to the first volume of The Ultimate Guide of Self Healing Techniques, and an art related, obviously, chapter. And so I knew immediately what I would do, which was my meditative, my painted prayers that I do every morning, which is a painted mandala with, it has an intention or a focus of someone, whatever. So I wrote that chapter, and writing it, I was like, I've got to go back to that book, but it's going to be different because for now I don't have a full clay. I don't have my clay studio anymore, so I can't really do that. And I would have, obviously, through, since I've not done the studio, been into teaching more other art forms, watercolor and painting and drawing. And I thought, I'm going to do it, well, because I have so many activities that I use in my meditation that are, that's how I work through things. That's how I process things. And it's also how I express things. If I'm happy, if I'm sad, if I'm, work confused, whatever. So that's how the book came about to be The Art of Healing. And it does have a clay activity, but it's watercolor, it's pencil, collage, all different ways to just be creative. And you can do the meditation and get the knowledge or connection to your higher self, your inner wisdom, or you can just do the project. And doing the actual project will become meditative without doing the quiet. If you're not one to do the quiet, sit there meditation and visualize, they're all visualized meditations. You can just go to the project and do it. And as you're doing it, because the process of art does the same thing as meditating, it relaxes your brain. And as you do it, you just get into that, and the other thoughts go away because focusing focusing, but at the same time your brain gets to relax and you can get insight. So you don't have to do the quiet meditation, you can just do the art part if that's, more to your liking, or work up to being able to meditate and do art. Like anything else, the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, practicing anything is going to make you not just more comfortable with it, but feel like you're getting better at it and progressing within the practice. Was it a natural thing for you to incorporate elements of meditation within your art?
Yes, I think I've always done that. Just well, again, because the process of creating becomes meditative. So it's, to me, it's a natural, um, a meditation is a natural segue into an art expression of that meditation, or anything, if you're trying to find an answer to something, or you're just trying to work through a feeling, or you're just happy, you can meditate on anything, and then you can express it in art. And art is actually a good way. As I say, art gives voice to the words caught in your throat. Things that you
Mm.
can't verbalize will come up when you're doing it in art. You'll be able to express that.
I love that. Art gives, I'm going to repeat that and put it in the comments. Art gives voice to the words caught in your throat. Is that what you said?
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Because I'm a speaker, so I create through words. So I think it's interesting to hear from a more of an artist or a visual perspective. That's if you're stuck, if the words are caught.
Right. If
So
there's
that's very
things
intriguing.
you don't know how to express it, you don't know what to say, but you can express it just even with color. It doesn't have to be a drawing because colors have emotion attached to them. And if you just start picking up, you grab a color that's speaking to you, and depending on what your emotion is or what you're feeling, just putting that color down and adding another color and then whatever. I mean, it gives you nonverbal expression.
And that's such an important thing, especially with people who are in virtual situations where they have to speak a lot or they have to participate in group settings a lot. Sometimes having that quiet space to not have to do those things is very
Mm-hmm.
important. And that's where the creativity becomes unleashed.
Mm-hmm.
When you're overwhelmed, like you said, things are caught in your throat or in your mind, the thoughts are running through your mind, but you just can't give voice to them. Art is a different way to express those things that maybe are difficult to express in other ways.
Right.
I know you mentioned that art has helped you personally heal and create a greater spiritual connection for yourself. Can you give an
Mm-hmm.
example of a situation in your life? Of course, don't share anything that you don't feel comfortable sharing, but a situation in your life where art helped you heal.
Um, oh, there's many because for me, anytime something has happened, that is art is my refuge. That's where I go. That's where I can sort things out. So I mean, going through a very painful divorce, art was how I processed the whole thing. And I was able to move on back to joy and, um, you know, happiness. And just, I did a series of collages. I did the painted prayers. I did very physical art to that lets out like anger and, um, so yeah, and it helps. It like there's in the well, actually, I don't know if I talk about that in the book, but there is the clay project in the book. Is how I came to express. I was adopted, and I was in yoga one day, and we were doing breath work, and the yoga teacher said, "This breath will sound like being in your mother's womb." And my immediate thought was, "Well, I was never there. How would I know what that sounds like?" And I thought, "Ooh, there's something there," And so I was, working through that, and I had a spiritual director, and I was talking to her, and she actually, I told her that happened, and she like got angry and said, "Well, you don't accept that you're a child of God." And I thought, what? I was like furious driving home. I'm like, how dare she say that? What is that? But then it hit me all of a sudden driving the words to Psalm 139, which it's not like I actually ever knew the numbers. And I mean, I was a religious studies major, but I didn't like, I couldn't quote verse and chapter and stuff like that, or even the verses. But all of a sudden, I knew exactly it was Psalm 139, and it was, "I knew you before you were born. I formed you in the womb. I blah blah blah." And I went, ah, it doesn't matter. I was created in the womb of God. It doesn't matter if I don't connect to a physical person's womb. And so going home, I was like, when I got this insight, I had to go home right away and do something. And I went to the studio and I made a hollow ball out of clay. Afterwards, I called it a meditation ball. And on that, I inscribed the words to Psalm 139. And then it was fired and glazed, and it sits on a little tripod stand. And that was how I released that and made something that I could then just physically hold during meditation or anything to just remind me of that revelation.
Thank you for sharing that. And that's obviously a very personal story and something that had a huge impact in your life at that time. I love how you took it and you made it into, for lack of a better word, a totem or a symbol or a thing that you can tangibly connect with. And as a reminder of something, a moment in your life when you're like, I'm from the womb of God. Like that's what I
Right.
need to know. That's what I need to remember, and this is my memory of that. So that's a really beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that, Barbara.
Sure.
Who are the types of people that you like to work with when it comes to meditative art in the kind of work that you do?
I love to work with all ages. And I especially love it when, you get someone like you tell them what you do and they're like, "Oh, well, I'm not creative. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler." Well, guess what? You don't have to draw a straight line with a ruler. That's not what art is. Great. The line can be as wiggly as you want it. It doesn't have to be straight. A straight line might be kind of boring. It's like, so when I get somebody and I mean, I love kids because they just have that natural joy and they get like, look what I did, look what I did. Well, I like to bring that back to adults or even, older teens or whatever, anybody, any age, it works. But when they actually go through one of my classes, a specific project, or even the paint nights I used to do, they would be like, wow, I can't believe I did this, and it gets so, you want to hang it on the fridge, like when you were 5, like take it home, hang it on the fridge, look what I did. So it doesn't matter the age or, you know, whatever the person, I enjoy working with anybody and just bringing back that childlike enthusiasm that it doesn't matter what you made. The fact that you made something is what matters. And during the process is where you actually get the benefits. It isn't, I mean, yes, you'll get the benefits at the end result when you really love it, because just looking at art or something beautiful will also trigger those releases of the feel good hormones, the endorphins, and it will open up your neural pathways to new things. But creating it does it even more. And it doesn't matter what it is. You can just take a brush and paint, like I said, and just put a bunch of colors on the paper. But as you're doing that, you get involved in that and and your brain relaxes and all the benefits start to happen. And then when you're done, you've got this really cool piece of paper with colors. I mean, it's great.
I love that you share that it's not about the end result because I
It's
do
not.
have people in my life who are perfectionists and they're like, this did not turn out the way I wanted it to, or oh my God, that's horrible. But as you mentioned, it's not about the actual end result. It's about the process. And I can
Right.
see so many parallels to that. It's about what you're discovering about yourself through the process. And I think that's also what ties into the meditation of it is you're discovering things about yourself as you're going through the process. And
Right.
some of the discoveries are good and some of them are not so good, but they're all part of the healing that needs to happen, right?
Right. And when I say healing, that doesn't mean that you have to be sick, you have to be depressed, you have to have something going on. Everybody needs just healing in that they need to connect with their soul, their higher self. I mean, we let that go, and that's where all the wisdom and the peace and contentment can come from. And so it's just healing, and healing the fact that you think you're not creative. I mean, that's an illness. No, that you need to heal, right?
Yeah. Well, I would love to finish up with that question around people who maybe hesitate to describe themselves as creative before we jump into the actual exercise that we're going to walk through from one
Mm-hmm.
of your chapters in the book. What would you say to someone who doesn't feel particularly creative or they're disappointed with some of the things they've created in the past? Like, what would be a good first step for them to take to give themselves permission to use art more?
Okay, that is the first step. Just give yourself permission to do it. Don't don't put up the blocks and say I can't do this. I'm not good at it. Just just relax and go with the process. And again, anything that you do, the more you do it, the the better you'll get. And that goes for art, no matter whether it's painting, drawing, sculpture. And you can just take a simple thing is just take paint and just watercolors and wet the paper and then put the paint on your brush, and when you touch the wet paper it's going to just flow all out and mingle together, and it's just like this beautiful thing just to look at. But a very simple way to start, which is a good segue: doodle. Doodling is art, doodling is creative. Just get a piece of paper and doodle. Everybody does it, and it'll give you relaxation. It'll do a lot of things for you, which actually I will talk about in a minute.
Doodling. For those of you who have a desk space, then this is the chance to dive in. Barbara's going to walk us through a short piece of her chapter in her book. By the way, I will be posting links to Barbara's website so you can download a free PDF version of the chapter we're referencing, which is called Let's Get Zen and Doodle Exercise. I'll put her website in the comments. Feel free to go to her website, enter your email there. You'll get a copy of the chapter so that if you don't have time to walk through it right now with us, that's totally okay. You can work on this outside of this time today during our live stream here. And if you do end up doing this exercise with us, please share your pictures or share what you've created, because again, it's not about the end result, it's about the process you're experiencing through this. So let's have a chance to give ourselves permission about the let's get zen and doodle exercise.
Okay, so this is chapter exercise 11 in the book, and this is what the book looks like.
Art of healing.
Yes. So I take it like there used to be a commercial back in the 70s, for those of us old enough to remember that. It was a tagline: Caldon, take me away. Well, it could just as easily be doodling, take me away. That's how powerful just the healing power of your pen. And I always carry a small notebook with me in my purse, and a pen, and places like sitting in the doctor's office or waiting at the DMV, anywhere you have to wait, just pull out the notebook and doodle in it. And it'll pass the time, and it'll give you a stress release. And especially like for me, going to the dentist is traumatic. As a child, it was very, very, very painful. I was not given any Novocaine or anything. And so I still have that anxiety when I go to the dentist, even though I know that I can get pain relief now. It still triggers that anxiety. So if I pull out my notebook while I'm waiting and doodle, then when it's my time to go in, I'm not as anxious, because that's taken me away. It's relaxed my mind. It's given me a different thing to focus on. And all doodling is just little shapes and designs. Everybody has doodled, I'm sure. Probably back in school, you might have had your teacher, your parents say, stop doodling and pay attention. Well, guess what? They were wrong, because doodling is actually beneficial. It helps improve your retention of information. So there has been research that's shown that people that doodled while listening retained more information than those that didn't. So, and the repetitive motion of it calms your mind. It gives you stress relief, and it only takes 10 minutes a day to get those benefits. It can help you with problem solving. When you're doodling, you're activating your creativity, and creativity is how we solve problems. So that's when your brain frees up and new ideas can come to you, and you'll be like, oh, all of a sudden you know what to do about a situation. It'll increase your creativity. Like I've said, just like anything else, the more you do it, the more creative you will be, and the more creative you'll be, the more neural pathways, and the more further you can go in being brave with doing other art activities. And it helps you know yourself better, just like any other art, because again, it's the repetitive action that calms your mind and soothes you and lets you connect in a meditative state to your higher self, and that will bring you more insight into the person you have the potential to be. So there are no rules, just doodling. And We are going to start, if you want to, with just a brief meditation, just to get you in that quiet space. But again, even just starting to do the doodling will take you there. But let's just sit with your eyes closed and your feet flat on the floor and your hands still in your lap. And just take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose to the count of 5, all the way down to your stomach. Hold it for 2 and breathe out through your mouth slowly to the count of 5. Repeat this 2 more times. In to the count of 5, hold for 2, out for the count of 5. In, hold, and out. Now, in your mind's eye, go to your favorite place to relax. It could be a quiet beach where you're alone, or by a lake on a blanket in soft grass. Go to wherever it is you can get away and be at peace and relax. Just lay back, watch the clouds roll by in a beautiful blue sky. Let your thoughts roll by with the clouds. Just let them go and relax there in that quiet and peace. And just connect with your spirit. Just see if there's any messages. Just stay there in your quiet place as long as you like, basking in the peace and tranquility. And when you're ready, you can return to the present and find your way back to the here and now. And you know that you can always return to this place anytime you need to. So now, staying quiet and calm, on your paper, let's just draw a border. You can make 4 dots around your paper and just draw a squiggly line connecting them all the way around, which will just give you a little border. I'm gonna drop my pen. Oh, here. And once you've got that border, you're going to take and just draw wiggly, swerving lines from one side of a border to the other, another side, in all directions and all around. So I'll show you what I'm doing here. I'm just going like making lots of, just dividing the, can you see that? There's my border, and I'm just dividing
Yes.
it into, so just divide lots of sections, as many as you want.
Something like this.
I see your border, yes.
Okay. Okay.
I can't see any lines on it. It's not on, but did you
Okay.
get
So
it?
lines
I could
lines
just
connecting the
divide
borders.
it. Lines
Okay.
from any side to another. You know, it can be from the
Okay.
bottom to a side, from side to side, all different directions. We're just dividing it up into sections like
I
this.
see. I see.
Okay, and then just pick any section you want and just start with some kind of a doodle. You can even just start with just make little circles touching each other and just fill the entire space with little circles. And as you're doing that, you'll get, so like just something like that, just a bunch of, you would fill that entire space, this entire space with the circles. And then you just move. I'm hurrying here just to give you all the things. You just move to another section and make some other little doodle. It could just be a swirly, like a squiggle, like a spiral, anything. Doesn't matter what you do.
Okay.
Just make,
So different
you,
shapes within the
it can
subsections.
be triangles, it can be rectangles, it can be just lines, divided in lines. And so this, you just keep doing this. And as you're doing it, you will be you're going to get into it and you're going to relax and you're going to get meditative, and it's going to be a little break. So here's an example of a completed one. Now I drew a few in the
Wow.
middle, but you don't have to draw anything in the middle. They work just as well with just filling, but you see how each section just gets filled with a little design. And here's another one.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I'd used a tree to divide up the sections and then each branch, but just whatever. You don't have to make a shape, but you could make a, like a circle in the middle and then do the lines out from it. Whatever you want, you just make doodles. Everybody knows how to doodle, and
I know my kids like to doodle.
the repetition of it, filling a whole page with tiny little doodles touching each other and filling each space, you will find that you get into this Zen state, and it will be very relaxing. And you don't have to
Awesome.
finish it all at once. So, a Zen state is defined by Merriam-Webster, so that you understand, is a state of attentiveness in which one's actions are guided by intuition rather than conscious effort. So you get lost in the rhythm of the task at hand. And getting lost in that rhythm is what will occupy, your mind isn't occupied with thoughts or anything. You're just in a rhythm, and it's just
Mm.
very, very zen, very calm. So that is one of the easiest ways to begin being creative, and you can always color it in different areas if you want, or use different colored pens if you want to make it colorful, or just the black and white. You can color the border around it.
I've got a few things that I put on mine. I'm just going to share some of it.
Oh,
I don't know if you can
yes.
see it well.
Yeah.
I put some
Perfect.
hearts and some space and
Right. Oh,
some
yes.
other things.
When that's
I have
finished, that's going to be so cool when that's finished.
Well, it's kind of funny because where my mind goes, like, yes, you're right, the repetition is very calming. It's
Mm-hmm.
designed to be. But what I tend to do is I take like something like this and I fill it in with color, like something that someone else created, like an adult coloring book, and then I'll fill it with color. And that's where I kind of insert myself into the
Mm-hmm.
process. So I'm just curious, like if someone is creating a doodle like this, how do they know when it's finished?
When you decide it's finished, it's entirely up to you. There are no rules, there are no mistakes. And you can decide it's finished for now, and then one another day you go back and say, "Oh, look, I could do this to it. I could add that to it." It can be a process. It doesn't have to. You can decide you only want to, you know, doodle in every other one, and you want blank spaces. But then you may come back later and say, "Oh, I think I want to fill this in," or I want to. There is no rules. That's the thing when you're doing this art. This obviously this is not formal art as if you're in art school and you need to follow principles, elements, and you're creating realism and, masterpieces. These are personal masterpieces. They're created from your soul, from you. They come through you. They're just they're just an expression of yourself, and it's entirely up to you. And there are no mistakes, and you can tell your daughter, um, there are no mistakes. You just decide to change it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And she understands. She edits everything she's doing, but that's one of her challenges is she doesn't know when it's done. She always wants to, and people who've written books know this, and people who've done any sort of creative work, they're like, I just want to keep going and make it more perfect and more perfect and more perfect. But as you said,
You
just
have to
listening
know when
to
to
your inner
stop.
guidance. Yeah.
Sometimes you go too far, and that when I taught kids in regular art class in my school, I'd be like, you need to know when to stop. Just stop and sit with it and give it time. And then if you really find that there's something you need to add, you can add it, but you may find that no, this is finished.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I love that you shared the doodle exercise. And we talked a little bit about this, like what could people interactively do with us during the course of 30 minutes. And I think this was the perfect practice to try today. For those of you who are watching, feel free to create your doodle. If you want to share it, I would really appreciate to see what your beginning
I'd
artwork
love to
is.
see them. Yes, I'd love to see them.
And if you get around to coloring it, great. If you don't, that's
It,
fine too. This
that's
is your
it.
personal work. Yep.
It's just
And And your work might inspire someone else to switch up what they're doing. So again, it's a creative process, but it's something that can definitely be shared within a group and can inspire other people to do their own version of the creative process as well. So again, if you want a copy of the full chapter where it talks through the meditation we walked through today, as well as the practice of the Zen Doodle, or if you want to purchase Barbara's book, those are available on her website. I have put the link to her website. Feel free to reach out to her if you have any questions. And Barbara, I just want to know, is there anything in particular you want to leave us with when it comes to using art as a healing meditative practice?
Just create every day. The healing's in the process.
Well said. Thank you so much. I've appreciated learning more about art with you today, Barbara, and I can see that you have a big passion for color and for helping people create every day, which I'm so into that idea as well. So thank you so much for being a part of this community today. Thank you for everyone who listened. If you're watching the replay, it will be up through Saturday, so don't hesitate to start your own doodle practice. Share with us what you're finding. I will tag Barbara so she can see the beautiful works that you're creating and your masterpieces. And stay tuned for next month. I have 2 guest experts next month. Super excited to share meditative movements. So again, on the line of meditation, but putting movement behind it, movement that is safe for any physical ability. So don't worry if you're like, I'm not super fit right now. It's okay. These are movements anyone can do. And I'll also have a guest expert on what to cook for dinner. COVID is hard right now. We've been cooking constantly. Maybe some ideas to shake up what you're traditionally cooking for dinner. So those are my 2 guest experts next month. Feel free to join me here on my page. In the meanwhile, Barbara, thank you so much for sharing your practice with us today. Looking forward to seeing what else we can learn from your book and how else we can connect with you. I'll put your social media links here as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Barbara.
Thank you so much, Jen. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Have a good day.
You too.